Whether you're ordering wings for the game, whipping up a 7-layer dip, or ordering pizza, there's something about football that makes you want to eat. And this football season, Uber Eats has the best deals on game day food. No matter what you're craving, from 2-for-1 pizza to buy one, get one wings, Uber Eats will be dropping new deals each week, all season long. Uber Eats, official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. There's nothing sweeter than baking cookies during the holidays. With Prime, I get all my ingredients delivered right to my door, fast and free, no last-minute store trips needed. And of course, I blast my favorite holiday playlist on Amazon Music. It's the ultimate soundtrack for creating unforgettable memories. From streaming to shopping, it's on Prime. Visit Amazon.com/Prime to get more out of whatever you're into.
Bobby Roast Beef here, Jigs and friggin' Biggs. We got one hell of a show for you this week. First and foremost, just a big giant thank you to everybody who listened to last week's show. We're going to dive into exactly why I'm so stoked about that. But man, crazy shit's been going on here. Ben Milliken's gone to jail, and people are losing their freaking minds in chat groups and all kinds of stuff. And we got to talk about it, guys. It's a sad day for the beef boat, for the implication, and I'll explain why. It's just one of those things, you know, it's something I got to get used to doing, and finally it happened. But we got plans. We got some plans to talk about. We got Who the Fuck is Joe Brown in the house. We're going to be talking about this new Christmas edition from Aggressively Average Anglers, their collab with Dark Horse Tackle. This box came in the mail yesterday. We're going to go through it in our Gear of the Week segment. In our Just the Tip segment, we're talking Finesse jigs. Finesse jigs are tried and true, at least in the roast beef house, when it comes to catching them in those cold months. We'll give you some tips on using them effectively and the best ways to get bit. We got all kinds of good stuff to talk about. You don't want to miss out. More Jigs and Biggs goodness coming up just for you right after this. Go ahead, get yourself something delicious to enjoy, and we'll see you after this. Come on! It's a Diet Coke kind of morning as we record this here. I got to keep it crisp because we have some crispy shit to talk about today. How are you, Joe?
Oh, man, I am awesome.
Yeah?
What a great, chilly, crisp Saturday morning.
It is brisk out there, isn't it? It really is. Full disclosure, I was planning to fish today. I was going to go to the Swift River, slip the boat in there, and just kind of enjoy as much sunlight as I could. And then I looked at the forecast, and I was like, it's going to be 13 degrees overnight. And I'm not okay with that. I'm genuinely not okay with that temperature. Pulling the boat out of the water and, you know, risking my outboard. You know, I don't know if there's something I got to worry about or not, but, you know, I'm like, let's not fuck it up that bad this first year. You know, let's try to get through it. So I am planning on doing some sends, but they're going to be further out toward the Cape, and hopefully when we're, you know, not so drastically cold where things can freeze so quickly once they get out of the water. Let's just get into it, man. You know what? We should review our weeks because we have some silly shit to talk about with all this Milliken news that's been in the buzz literally within less than 24 hours. Like the last 12, 13 hours, I think it's been sort of in the ether. But let me go. I'll just jump through my week real quick because there's not a whole lot going on to it. Did a lot of work in this week. Finished the show on Monday and got it posted. And I got to tell you guys, a major thank you again to everybody who's listened, because there is a certain metric that I watch for like within certain periods of time. When an episode drops, I usually watch it over the week to see what the pattern is, and I've gotten really used to seeing what we see. And there's a certain number of listens or downloads that will occur within the first like 24 hours, and then within the next 24 hours. So within that 48-hour window, we're sitting at about a specific number, and we are 6 times that number on that one specific episode, the one with Rhea and Becca. And what an amazing show. And, geez, I want to say that we are 5 times the views on YouTube. When the YouTube stream or the YouTube drop of the podcast that shows up there, we probably get a handful of like maybe 20 to 30 additional streams on there. Those don't count in the analytics for the podcast. They're not added in there. But I think we're at almost 160. Like, it's crazy how many people have tuned in to listen to this. And the comments, too. Lots of feedback from people like, oh, those are my 2 favorite YouTubers. Like, I'm telling you, Rhea and Becca, they struck a chord. I don't know if you listened to the interview, Joe, but it was a ton of fun. Yeah. I think that there is going to be more with them, and I have to have Rhea on as for a proper interview to like everybody get to know her. And we had a conversation after, it was probably about the 2nd or 3rd day the podcast was out. We were talking about some stuff, and she asked me, she goes, "Oh, can I share the video interview?" I was like, the video interview probably won't be seen except for those little clips that I use to kind of promote. I go, there will definitely be stuff in the monthly recap for December, so I'll get you that. But we were talking, and she was like, "Oh, the roamers are really looking for it." And I was like, "The roamers?" And she goes, "Yeah, that's what I call my really hardcore fans." Her channel, Roaming Reckless. And I was like, "That's awesome." I go, "You want to know what we call our hardcore fans? The ones that are really watching this live as we do it? We call them the jig heads." And she thought that was just absolutely awesome. She's like, "I love jig heads. I think it's great." She's like, "It's kind of like, what do you call it? Who the fuck is that singer? The Margaritaville, Jimmy Buffett with the parrot heads."
Oh, yeah.
Same idea. That's actually kind of where the inspiration struck. So, as far as doing fishy shit this week, there wasn't a whole lot. I was planning on going out this weekend as the forecast started to get a little bit more closer to dialed. I was like, I don't think this is a good idea. Let's go ahead and we'll just skip it. But one thing that I had to get done this week was I had to get that cover on my boat. Now, we had gotten some snow, and I had neglected because I made full intention of trying to go out and fish last week, which didn't end up happening, and I ended up with some snow on the boat, which, thanks to the sunlight and the more mild temperatures, it seemed to alleviate the problem. Now I had a water issue where I had to now take some time to drain my boat. And on the forecast, I saw that there was Wednesday, we got 2 inches, maybe plus, of rain on Wednesday. And I just said, let it rain on me. Let it happen. Because I'm going to take that next day, which will be dry, and I'm going to take her for a little drive and do some elevation here and drain that sucker and get the cover on. And I did. Everything's good, so we're good. She looks nice in the backyard, all dressed up, packaged like a little Christmas present. And I'll be taking it out to the Cape when we get a little bit more milder weather. Those milder winter temps. Fingers crossed. Yeah. And then if nothing else, I mean, absolute worst case scenario, Todd, I'll be coming to see you in Michigan when in April, and we'll pull the cover off then and see what we're dealing with. But man, just a ridiculous week, kind of slow overall. I did purchase something that was, I think I stumbled on a gold mine. Now, you remember I was talking about
do tell.
I was talking about, my layering system and stuff, and what I was looking for bibs. It was more as like a water repellent than an insulating sort of piece of equipment. Just something that I could layer up and do my thing. And I've been looking for a good mid layer, not that super thin base layer of synthetic stuff, but I was looking for a little slightly heavier mid layer. And I was on Amazon. I was like, no, I got to dive in and look. I found these 100% full synthetic Under Armour sweats that are they're all poly. You know what they feel like? You know how what the Reaper hoodies feel like? Yeah. It's exactly like that.
Oh, that's cool.
Exactly. So it's like a polyester fleece, and it is it's light and stretchy, but it's got what else is nice? And I love this too about a lot of these newer products. There's a cell phone pocket in them. Like I see that, and like I bought some pants to wear for events and things like that, and there's like they're called tech pants, and I'm like, what the fuck, tech pants, whatever. And there's a specific cell phone pocket. I'm like, that is fantastic.
That's how my pants are used for fishing.
Yeah,
like my FPF or FPF, the anti-sun pants.
Yeah, the SPFs for sure.
SPF.
So I got the boat all handled. Everything's good. I got these sent in, and I'm like, this is going to be a game changer. And I was actually hoping to be wearing them out on the boat, with the muck boots and everything, and being nice and toasty. But here we are, recording the show, and it's all good. I love this right here. I got Jay Manning chimes in, and he goes, "Oh, the Lund's tough. It can handle it." And I think you're right. I think it can for sure handle it. I'm just worried about that lower end, man.
The Lund can handle it. It's the Merc you got to worry about.
That's what I'm more afraid of. There is the Merc.
And if you don't get all that water out of that lower end, it could get a little weird.
Yeah. That's my biggest concern is I pull the boat out of the ramp and I'm going to drain it. But like in that amount of time between when I get it back up into the parking spot and I get everything all set and I lower the trim down to drain it, like
right.
13 degrees is really fucking cold and it doesn't take much. There's a lot of metal parts in there that aren't going to insulate at all.
Right.
And I'm like, I just don't want to fuck anything up.
Yeah.
I mean. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I'm imagining shit, if people are like kind of feeding me info, if I'm drinking too much of the Kool-Aid, But yeah, I know. Jay is right. The Lund is tough. And he says, I got those cold weather base layers from Under Armour with Gore-Tex. Good down to zero and good in the wind. The wind is the thing. Like you really, the wind is a big one right there. It's a big deal. It sounds like there's a lot of you guys that also put your stuff away for the winter as far as your boats and stuff. We got Jay Manning says, I did the same thing. My poor Lund, it's all snowy. Cheryl says, my Hobie too, not good, but couldn't seem to accept the fact that the water is frozen. Yeah, I wanted to send it so bad, man. I really did. And there's the ice fishing content is just popping up all over the place now.
Yeah, it's starting to. Yeah,
it really is. And you know what? Good for those dudes. Like, if you really like doing that and that's your bag, like, do it, man. I'm not here to yuck your yum or anything like that. It's just I have a particular way I enjoy fishing, and it's not that.
Yeah. Same.
Oh man,
I do it for the kids, man. That's about it.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? That's exactly it. It would be a different animal if if it was just like a culture, like it was just like every single year we had safe ice all the time. And
you know what, dude? It kind of used to be like that.
It did for sure.
Things just changed. It's just the climate's just kind of shifted right a little bit.
Yeah.
We just don't get the ice that we used to.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, fucking 5 years ago, probably like 10, 12 years ago, I was driving my Jeep out on the Quabog.
Right. Those were the days.
And, you just don't get that anymore.
Yeah, it's true. Those were the days. That's what I remember when I was a kid going out ice fishing with my dad. And like, there'd be dudes out there with their trucks. And I'd be like, are you serious? And he's like, oh yeah, this is fine. And my favorite is we used to have fires on the ice all the time. Stay warm,
Yep.
And when I say that to people who aren't from up here, they're like I think I mentioned that. It was during the whole angler episode I did with Dave.
Yeah.
And he was like, you guys did fire? Are you fucking crazy? I'm like, it melts like the surface ice a little bit, like you get some water there, but I'm like, it doesn't do what you think it's going to do. Like it's going to melt through it.
Dude, I would do some weird shit to get fucking Dave out here on the ice, dude.
I would go ice fishing for that. Wouldn't it be amazing to go to like northern Maine and go like bourbon fishing with Dave?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that'd be so much fucking fun.
Yeah.
Speaking of northern Maine, that is a big trip that's on my docket for sure. I have a bone to pick with Moosehead specifically, and Becca and I are planning to go and hit that up sometime in May. I think later May. But I would be okay actually with early May too. I mean, it's cold water, but I'm not doing it in the kayak this time, so it'll be interesting. It'll be really cute to see how everything works in my, with hauling the boat in there. I know it can happen. I've seen boats in there, but it'll be interesting. But what else did I do this week? Oh, this week I kind of took a dive into a part of camping equipment that I never really thought that I was going to, and that is diesel heaters. I've been considering. Ooh. Yeah, I've been considering because I want to do more. Like I've camped down into the 30-degree mark, and I'm fine with even like my summer bag and the right clothing. Like I'll sleep fine because like I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but
Bobby roast beef carries quite a bit of weight with him, and it insulates really well.
So like I know I'm not afraid of dying or anything like that, but when it gets down to like below 10 degrees.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where, like, number one, you're not going to be hanging out around a campfire. Like, it's even too cold for that, You're not going to have all that shit. So there's a lot of time where you're in your vehicle. And if I'm in the back, I'm like, I hate running the truck like that. I'd rather just get my hands on a diesel heater. And I was listening to, it was past guest of the show, Jason Fletcher from All Things Overlanding. I was listening to his latest podcast. He was talking about some of the gear that he's like, yeah, if you're into winter camping, the best part about winter camping, by the way, is that there's 0 bugs. None, not any. And that is wonderful, So I'm into it. I'm like, yeah, I'd love to do it. But I go, the one thing on his list was a diesel heater. And he was like, there are so many ways that you can, and I never thought about this because most people that I see use diesel heaters either in a truck setup or in or like in an SUV like I do, where they're sleeping inside of the vehicle. They usually install it so that the heater is underneath the truck, and then the exhaust port feeds the exhaust out under the truck, and then the ducting comes up in to feed that warm, dry heat.
Right.
And I'm like, but I'm not looking to do that with my truck. So instead, I'm looking at one of these things. Have you ever seen one of these like shelves that you can put on your tire? It's like a little rack that goes around your tire.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I could put a diesel heater right on that, and then just run the duct up to a window and figure out some kind of a way to create an insert that goes in the window where it's like almost like a dryer vent,
Yeah, exactly.
Like that. And
yeah.
I'm like, that'd be freaking awesome. And then ideally, if I can find a diesel heater that has a separate thermostat that I could keep in the truck, that thing would just fire on and off, as it needs to or whatever. I know that these things obviously die because diesel heaters they run the gamut. You can buy one for like $120 or you could spend $3,500 on one.
Right.
Like it's crazy. But I mean, the cheaper ones seem to do okay. I guess, I know Becca's had some issues with them, but I know Ria's got one in her rig. And I'm like, that might not be too terrible of an idea, Little can of diesel, let that do its thing, keep me warm at night, and then we'll go ahead and we'll send it. But again, like I don't know. It's just one of those things. I went down the rabbit hole. How was your week, Joe? Anything fishy?
Oh man, nothing really fishy, to be 100% honest. Like started just kind of looking at and staring at the pile of just shit from my boat, thinking about how I'm going to organize it. I did purchase a few rods.
Oh.
From a friend of mine that does not use them. All 6 cents.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, there was I think there was an ESP in there, a Milliken, and a Sensory. So, yeah, I'll throw some reels on there. I got some spare reels laying around, so I'll add to the chaos. But man, as far as fishy stuff, it just hasn't been that kind of week. We did book our cruise. Going on a cruise in May. Yeah,
nice.
So that's bring the kids on a cruise, so that'll be fun.
Have you ever done a cruise?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay, all right.
Yeah. I did one a few years ago.
Nice.
It was fun. We just do the Boston to Bermuda.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's fun. It's great. It's a great time. So yeah, we're doing that and starting to plan some trips, for next year, both, some fishing related trip, hoping spoiler alert, it looks like I'm might be going down to ICAST with
Fish or Die,
with
right?
Taylor from Fish or Die.
Nice, dude. That's awesome.
And then him and I are actually looking at competing in the ABA military tournament down in Georgia. So at West Point Lake Reservoir.
That's right. Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, man, it's just starting to plan the season and yep. And you know what? And actually, this will be a good broke on the boat segment for next week. I'm kind of dabbling. So I have that right height turret on my boat, right, for the live scope. I'm thinking I might go a different route. I kind of
Really?
hate the thing. Not a big fan of it. Like,
Okay.
there's just better ones out there. And,
Yep.
yeah, maybe we'll have to break that down and talk about that next week.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great idea. There is something that's fishy that happened this week that definitely sucked. And I completely forgot that. I'm amazed I forgot about this. But this week, your boy Bobby Roast Beef, while he was out with the boat, draining the boat and everything, and I made a stop, and I was thinking in my head about Columbus, and I'm like, son of a bitch. Let me double check the weekend there. So I checked when the show was. I was like, all right, yeah, that makes sense. It was like, that's about the same time last year. And then I was like, I'm going to go ahead and look on my calendar and just double, check a few things. I had a pending event that was listed there from a client that I've had for the last few years. And on this event, they had changed venues. And I guess the availability with this other venue meant that the week they normally do their event didn't line up. And I never caught this when it happened. This they contacted me back in June. And they normally pay me immediately, like right away with an online payment. Right. So I didn't have. Now, what's nice about the online payments is I don't have to manually add that stuff. It just shows up on their account.
Right.
And I never saw that there. So I'm like, huh. So I went and I started looking around. I was like, they didn't put down a deposit and block that because it was a conflict. And I'm like, if they didn't confirm with me, I would then go ahead and just contact them and say, hey, I've already got stuff lined up, blah, 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 blah. Because Columbus wasn't even on the calendar when they had reached out to me. Like, they were first in line. So I go, all right, let's see what happens. So I start going through all my records, and I was like, what are the odds they sent the check? And guess what they did? They did send me a check. I don't get very many checks for private events. Most people, the majority, but I'm at the bank all the time making deposits for my residency stuff all the time. So I'm like, all right, I go, did they write me a check? Yeah, they did. They 100% did, and it was confirmed. And my mistake was I never had applied it to the account, making it booked. Right. And I'm like, you son of a bitch, which meant that I had a very, very difficult phone call to make to disappoint Zach and let him know that I was not going to be able to go to Columbus for this, which sucked. And then I had a conversation with Dave following up because Wolf of Walmart is, he's sort of the overseer of that end of that booth, which is even larger than it was before. Like there's like a full booth space there. Yeah. Yeah. So Todd says, oh no. Yeah. Oh no is right. Yeah, so I won't be able to be there. The good news is that I will be sending Joe up with plenty of equipment to be able to handle all this stuff. In fact, I even said to Dave in this conversation, I said, you've got everybody's contact info. I go, start a group text with me so that this way I can find out what people want to do and how I can help them make it happen. We can determine what everybody's going to need for equipment going into it. And Dave's like, oh, I don't want to, I don't want to, you have work stuff you have to do. I don't want to take your equipment from you. I was like, Dave, I got plenty of gear. I can make everything happen. Don't worry about it. So yeah, we're going to kind of nail down what exactly people want to do. Like, what is it they want to record?
Sure.
And I think ideally what I'm probably going to do, Joe, is I'm going to send you up with a portable rig, but not to record any data, primarily to use it as an IO. So that way it can connect to whomever's laptop is in play, and then they can record the stuff there. Because the only issue with that portable recorder is that sometimes it will leave a short gap of audio on the SD card, and almost all the time when it's running, it'll just stop and say like some kind of an error on the screen, and the two are totally unrelated. I have no idea what that error is about, but it won't actually let you stop recording or anything until it clears, and eventually it could be a minute, and then it'll eventually clear, and you're like, all right, cool, I can actually do stuff here. So you're gonna have gear for that, which definitely does it is a damper in a huge way. But what can we do about it? It is what it is.
I'll try not to fuck it up too bad.
You'll be fine. You're gonna be fine, man. It is funny too because, like, you know, I even said to Dave, he was like, "Oh yeah, but you know, you're the guy that's in the wheelhouse for like all that live engagement and all that stuff." And I was like, "That's true," but I go, "Can I tell you something? That in that environment is not great." You know, the idea of having people sit down and while that's cool, like the content itself, like you have, I think last year we probably interviewed about 40 people.
Yeah.
We saw probably 400 people come by. And that 10% were able to sit and talk with us. And granted, like some of those folks that sat and talked with us were absolutely amazing and actually have become followers and listeners and they've supported the show. Yeah. And that's been amazing. But overall, like for the amount of people that you actually have participate in what you're trying to do, it's minimal. Do you have any idea how many people I saw make this face as they were walking by me? Like, I'm like, do you want to? I'm like,
I remember.
I was also thinking, Joe, that it is quite possible because, you know, Jigs and Bigs is trying to do more with video, you know, but almost everybody else has a video platform of their podcast. Sure. The Catch does, Whole Angler does, Tackle Talk does. And I think, are there any? Oh, Drew Gregory from Kayak Adventure Series is going to be doing some recording there as well. So why not just capture all this stuff as video and then we'll figure it out when it comes time to edit it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. I did seriously debate the idea of doing my event, packing up all my gear, and just driving through the night to Columbus to be there for Sunday. And then it was like, yeah, but he's like, you'd be there for like a night and then you drive back. And I was like, yeah, I know. It's stupid. I'm dumb. I'm
a dumb human being.
You know? Todd says he's planning on swinging by. I'll step out of my comfort zone for you. Beautiful. Appreciate that. It's a magical place. The Columbus Expo. It is.
Oh, it was odd. Dude, that was such a good show.
It was a great show. I wish it was that much closer. I really do. And also, I do want to throw this out there, too. I did have a conversation with Doug Souza, organizer for the Springfield Sportsman Show. We're going to be doing something a little bit different there. There is going to be a Jigs and Bigs booth, but it's not going to be staffed the entire weekend, you know, all the time. Probably just every once in a while. We're actually going to be doing a little bit of an educational piece with the Springfield Sportsman's Show this year. We're going to be working with Mass Wildlife to put together a little online quiz to kind of like get people up to speed on, you know, hunting and fishing laws in the area and records and all kinds of data that, you know, Mass Wildlife has access to. And it should be a good time. And we're going to give away some prizes, too, which is going to be the coolest part. So you'll be able to stop by the booth. There will be a QR code that you can scan. I may even set up like a little kiosk with some tablets so that folks can just do it right there. But I think that for the most part, the majority of people, if they just scan it, go ahead and take the quiz. It'll be online, so you can scan it and then do it later if you want, or however you want to do it. So it'll be pretty cool. Doug kind of likes that idea. He thinks it's very high tech. So I'm like, all right, that's awesome. Let's go ahead and do it. Now, Joe, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Is our headline the Milliken stuff, or do we have other headlines to go?
I have another headline as well. Then we're going to go into the Milliken.
I like that idea. Why don't we go ahead? We'll go ahead. We'll do that. We'll get into our headlines, and then we got some shit to talk about, guys.
This episode is brought to you by United Airlines. When you want to make the most of your vacation, book with United. They're an airline that cares about your travels as much as you do. United is transforming the flying experience with Bluetooth connectivity, screens, power at every seat, and bigger overhead bins to help fit everyone's bag. And with their app, you can skip the bag check line, get live updates, and more. Change the way you fly. Book your next trip today at united.com.
Looking for a pickup truck to get just about anything done? Look no further. The Chevy Silverado EV isn't just the most powerful Silverado ever, with next-level towing capability and technology. It also offers game-changing versatility with the available multi-flex midgate and tailgate, which means Silverado EV helps you carry large, bulky, and oddly shaped items up to nearly 11 feet in length. Chevrolet. Together, let's drive. Visit Chevrolet.com to learn more.
What a crazy headline week this is going to be.
Yeah.
We got a big one.
Bananas.
We have a top story. We have a top story here at Jigs and Bigs. But first, we're going to talk this one. This is actually a really good one, too.
Yep.
You ready for it?
I'm ready.
NPFL president allegedly involved in altercation at diner. Charges possible. After fishing during the sixth and final stop of the National Professional Fishing League in South Carolina, or tour in South Carolina was canceled due to inclement weather on the morning of December 11th. NPFL president Brad Fuller allegedly ran into two unidentified anglers who were fishing in the canceled event in a local diner, and an altercation broke out. Authorities were contacted and the police arrived and filled out a report, which Wired to Fish has obtained. We were also able to reach Fuller directly by comment about the incident and the cancellation. It is unknown if the two are directly related. We believe there are many inaccuracies in the report and it is clearly one-sided, Fuller said in a statement when Wired to Fish reached him by comment today. We're not interested in trying this in public. We look forward to clearing up this matter and moving the NPFL forward. The decision to cancel fishing on December 11th was made after tournament officials reviewed reports from the National Weather Service and other sources issuing lake wind advisories that called for sustained winds of greater than 20 miles per hour and gusts up to 40. Our commitment in the safety and well-being of our anglers. Our commitment is to the safety and well-being of our anglers, Fuller said in a statement issued to Wired to Fish. We're eager to get this tournament in the books, to wrap up our Progressive Angler of the Year race, and finalize our field for the 2025 NPFL Championship. But safety will always come first, and the current weather situation presents a threat that's too great a risk. The cancellation of the day's fishing meant NPFL Stop 6 on Lake Murray was cut down to a 2-day event starting Thursday, December 12th and ending Friday, December 11th. According to the Chapin Police Department, now they're finally getting into the incident. A report filed by Captain Ryan Galinsky. Police arrived at the Backen Southern Eatery on Elliott Road in Chapin at 9:30 a.m. December 11th after receiving a call reporting an assault in the restaurant. Galinsky states in his report that he arrived on the business and was met by two men accusing Fuller of assaulting them. One of the men told police he was sitting down at Bacon about to eat breakfast when subject Brad Fuller came in cussing at him and another fisherman, using profanity, telling them both multiple times that he will F them up. The report dates Fuller then chest bumped the man back up to a chair and telling him to fuck off. And police say Fuller's wife, Michelle, joined in. Oh, hell yeah. And was also using profane language towards the fishermen as well as staff at Bacon. Restaurant staff told the Fullers they had to leave, and then someone called the police. The report states one of the complainants said he was upset due to the large amount of money he spent to be there in the fishing tournament, and that Mr. Fuller, the president of NPFL, can cause problems for him and his sponsors if he decides to cancel it. The other complainant told the police that it all started over some social media video posts. And that's it.
Always does, man. That's how it is. I'm going to tell you that diners are the original Octagon.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Dude, they just are. If you've ever been to a Waffle House ever.
With Denny's being the final
Denny's,
boss.
Oh, my God, dude. You got to understand, man. I grew up with the J+B Denny's, which is like famous around the world for being oh, it's ridiculous. That is a riot. Like, I get both sides being upset about needing to cancel, but really at the end of the day, if your sponsors are giving you a problem because the organization canceled the tournament, they can go fuck right off.
Yeah, it sounds like these two guys were probably instigating Fuller.
I think that's what it was.
And then, he kind of, they're just kind of poking the bear. And then he just kind of was like, you know what, fuck you guys. And then it got a little out of control. And then he becomes the, main agitator, and he's the one who gets in trouble. And that's it.
Do you think that he responded to their agitating by saying like, hey, why don't you get the fuck out of the NPFL and
go use forward facing sonar somewhere else?
Yeah. That's kind of what's crazy. This is like a league that you have to be like accepted into. So I just be like, okay, well, go fuck off, and you guys are no longer an NPFL.
Yeah, it's a done deal.
Yeah, go fish the opens, like local opens.
That's kind of nuts, when you really think about it. That's a little bit insane. Shit, dude. It kind of reminds me of a situation we're going to hear about in FTG, to be perfectly honest. Talking about crazy people, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I get how they would be frustrated, but like at the same time, if somebody makes the call that, like, who wins if you cancel a tournament? Like nobody. It doesn't. There's nobody that's benefiting. It doesn't benefit anybody to have a tournament get canceled. It kind of screws everybody, organization included.
Right.
So.
Yeah, it's stupid. It's wild.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, 20 mile sustained winds on Lake Murray with 40-mile-an-hour gusts. That's insane.
Sketch. Yeah.
Insane. I wouldn't want to be out there.
No.
That would be like the shit I was dealing with in friggin' Ontario. And guess what? The southern boats are not used to that shit.
No.
The southern anglers, that's not shit that, we get high winds pretty often on big lakes up north here. That's not something that's as prevalent down south. So he made the right choice, dude. Because guess what? Someone falls off their boat, hits their head, drowns. Guess who's getting sued?
Well, I got a feeling that there are some fine print in some of those, paperwork you need to sign that are going to eliminate liability on the organization's behalf. But I'll tell you, you're right. You're right about those southern anglers not being used to that degree. It's a big deal, man. That's shitty. How well are you actually going to fish in those conditions? Maybe you'll get on a few, but are you going to have that day? Probably not.
You're going to have 30 boats all sitting in the same fucking cove trying to get out of the wind.
Looking for whatever fish happen to be there. Yep. And then you're going to have a couple of maniacs that are out there but they're going to have to grind their asses off, not fishing. Just staying afloat, staying on their vessel. Yeah, he made the right call, and it's shitty. That's messed up. Jay Manning right here says it all. He goes, the guy was mad because he had a cage full of fish tied up to a buoy. Goddamn right he did. It's like, now those fish are going to have to sit there. They're going to be a little bit underweight now for next tournament. What am I going to do?
I got to put food on the fucking table.
Dude, it's crazy because MLF canceled the last day of Champlain this year because of winds. Yep. And then they all came over to St. Lawrence River while I was there, and I saw them all fishing there.
They all crashed your party. Yeah. Which happens. Happens. Cheryl's loving it. Oh, man.
Craziness.
That is nuts. So let's go ahead. Let's just rip the Band-Aid right off.
Yeah, let's do it.
Ben Milliken went to fucking prison.
Fucking prison, dude.
The man has been locked up. They threw away the key.
For 29 minutes. For 29 minutes at least.
Oh, he's back. Okay.
He's back. But he spent 29 minutes in the clink, dude. 29 long, arduous minutes in jail.
Can we just say that Ben Milliken is the official bad boy of the B.A.S.S.?
He is, dude. 100%. I love it. I'm a Ben fan for life, dude.
So let's talk about this.
Do you want me to read this? Do you want to talk about it first? Or you want me to read the updated shit I have?
Let me start with how I discovered this and then messaging you. So this all just happened last night, Friday night. I'm in that window before I'm about to leave for work, and I'm just kind of scrolling through on Facebook, and I come across I'm a member of a bunch of different fishing groups on there, and there was there were two kayak ones. One of them was I forget the name of it. So anyway, there were two different kayak groups in there where somebody had posted just a post with no link, anything, saying Ben Milliken's been arrested and blah, 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 blah. He's getting what he should deserve. He cheated. And somebody mentioned something about him releasing a fish to cull. And remember that whole thing with the fin clips on the fish? Somebody mentioned, I was like, what the fuck? That was months ago. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And then somebody posted a link that kind of gave a very vague story. And I took that link and I sent it over over to you. It actually didn't give any real like info at all regarding it, but I was like, what is this shit all about? And the headline
They just said there'll be more info to come.
Yeah. It was from the Daily Sentinel. Pro fisherman, popular YouTuber Ben Milliken charged with fishing tournament fraud. And it was only posted as we're recording this. It was 18 hours ago that this story was posted. There really wasn't any information other than like where he lives and his age and just that they were working on such and such with Texas Parks and Wildlife. So anyway, there wasn't a whole lot in there, and I was like, is this fucking for real? So then that's when I sent the link to you, Joe. And I was like, I'm going to take to the Googles and see if there's other sources. And I'm looking around, and I couldn't get anything. Nothing. I was like, is this just somebody that's just fucking like hating on him? Like, is that what this is? Like somebody's like, oh, we found this, or we're gonna create this website or some shit like that. Like, I have no idea. So I'm looking around, I don't see anything. And then that's when things turned, and Joe was like, nope, it's real. He posted something on Instagram. Yeah. So do you want me to read what it was that he posted on Instagram to just kind of like set the stage as to what?
Go for it.
At least, if nothing else, so that he's got his own representation here. Look at that. I open it up and there's the story. So this was 16 hours ago. He posted a carousel on Instagram just with text. And he goes, by now, some of you have heard of recent legal issues that I'm facing for an incident last February. This issue is due to a complete misunderstanding and unrelated to any elite series or local fishing tournament I've participated in. In fact, the incident arose while I was recreationally fishing and not at all in a tournament. I very much look forward to creating videos explaining this entire situation, but due to its ongoing investigation, it's best that I wait. In the meantime, I'm going to continue working 7 days a week to film and produce the best fishing content possible to help spread my love of the outdoors and promote the sport of fishing to as many people as possible. Thank you all for understanding and for your patience. And I think that is awesome. He got out right in front of it. And that's some stand-up shit. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't have to say anything. He didn't have to address anybody, but he got out in front of it and said, like, whoa, slow your roll. This is what's going on. So now, Joe, go ahead and give the details as they are. We'll get current.
God, it's wild. It's wild. All right. So as we said, YouTube angler and Bass Master Elite Pro Ben Milliken arrested for fishing related fraud. So, known best for his popular YouTube channel, Milliken Fishing, and his status as a Bassmaster Elite Angler, Benjamin Milliken was arrested Thursday in Nacogdoches County and charged with freshwater fishing tournament fraud. Now, what led to Ben Milliken's arrest? So, the charges stem from Milliken's submission of a legacy class share lunker largemouth bass that he caught at Lake Nakonish in February of 2024. Texas Parks and Wildlife officials said Milliken falsified his contest entry form. All right, so think about that. He falsified an entry form. Okay, so now you're like, oh man, so this fish wasn't the size that he's saying it was, or something down that line.
I think I know exactly what it was that he quote unquote falsified.
So, according to a redacted image of the sheriff's office booking summary, Milliken, 35, of New Caney, Texas, surrendered on the misdemeanor charge and was released just 29 minutes later after he was brought in. Do you think he's a blood or a Crip now?
Oh, I think he's a Crip all day. Although I don't know. I don't know if he's a blood. It's the Nebraska colors.
Ooh, that's true. You can still rock that 409.
That's what I'm saying.
All right,
402.
Or 402, I'm sorry. So, Texas Parks and Wildlife investigation findings. The big investigation, Bobby.
Yeah.
The big investigation. CIA, FBI, DEA, all of them. All of them work together to get this absolute monster off the streets and in jail. You ready?
I'm ready.
As reported by the whatever town that's called, Daily Sentinel, Maggie Berger, spokesman for Texas Parks and Wildlife, said in an email, during the due diligence process this fall, prior to distributing program prizes at the Toyota Share Lunker banquet, it was discovered that Ben Milliken did not have a valid fishing license at the time the fish was caught and knowingly falsified the contest tournament entry forms by saying that he had a license.
You bastard.
That monster.
Could you?
What a monster.
You son of a bitch.
Berger told the Daily Sentinel, Milliken has been disqualified from the program for life and cited for fishing without a valid license.
My God. So you mean to tell me this has absolutely nothing to do with any Elite Series tournament whatsoever?
Absolutely. Or any like really open bass tournament. This is literally just being like, I caught this big fish. I'm going to submit it to the state program.
Now, I have read on, I forget what the article was, like Outdoor Life or some shit. And they said that the sheriff's office counts the ShareLunker program as a quote-unquote tournament because of the money involved, but it's not a tournament in the sense that you would think of your garden variety tournament in any other sort of way.
Right.
So I feel like they are sort of twisting these words to kind of make it an issue. Now, I do want to chime in and say that it was, I mean, minutes, I think, when this dropped, when good old Uncle Randy jumped on and made a video, again, delivering the headlines, really breaking the story, you know?
Right.
And giving what we could only call an unbiased headline about what was going on. Like 3-minute videos came out within a couple of hours of each other. One of them just basically saying like, Ben Milliken went to jail. Oh my God. And then the other one basically saying like, oh, so these are the reasons that he went to jail. He didn't have a valid fishing license. And I will say this, I'll give credit to Randy Blockett for this. He did say, I don't know a single angler who has forgotten to renew their fishing license at some point or another, or have been out there and been like, oh shit, I forgot, whatever.
It happened to me twice this year.
And that shit just happens sometimes. You're not planning in advance. You're not, And
here's what, and here's how it's a little bit different, Bobby, from the typical angler. Us, it's a little different because the states are so small, so people might go fish, Connecticut. So you have to ensure that you have a license in all these states.
Yep.
And you might not, like me, for instance, when I go down to Candlewood or something, I'm like, fuck, do I still have a Connecticut license? So I'll be on the boat fishing, be like, fuck. I got to look and make sure it's still valid.
Yep.
But I had to do it with New York. I was in the parking lot of the St. Lawrence River, renewing my New York license. And these guys, elite anglers, especially these big tournament anglers, fish dozens of states that they have to carry a license for. So it's bound to happen that you might forget to renew it. And it's not the first time it's happened. It happened with an elite, either an elite or an MLF angler this year that was disqualified because he forgot to renew his license and did not have a current license in that state for that tournament. It happens to us all. And this dude is wrangled up like he's some kind of, just violent criminal who it typically is a ticket for any other normal person.
Yep.
If you get found to, but I guess it's the fraud or whatever.
Yeah.
But throw shade, throw rocks, all you want.
It happens.
Don't throw rocks in a glass house, man, because this dude, he's legit. I'm a huge Milliken fan.
Yeah.
He made a human mistake that we all have made.
Yep. 100%.
Multiple times.
Cheryl Bentley chimes in and she goes, do you think that they would have arrested just anyone for that or making an example of a public figure? So that's one of the things that Randy Blockett had mentioned in his video was he had said that, he goes, that's not an arrestable offense. Like,
it's a misdemeanor.
Not having a license. I think the issue is because it had to do with the ShareLunker program.
Yeah.
And they were able to call it a tournament that way. It's the fraud element to it. So I think that's really what it gets down to is this is just mincing of words.
Yeah.
And like,
Here's where it's weird though, and here's where Ben Milliken gets himself a pretty decent lawyer. This shit will probably all be dropped.
Yeah.
But he never received any prize money. He never received any sort of prizes for this. The banquet hadn't even happened yet.
Yeah. It's insane, man. It's insane.
So
Jay makes a great point here. Jay Manning, he says, this is nuts. He goes, they want to promote fishing, then they arrest a fisherman. FTG. Yeah.
Could have been, dude, this could have been something. And again, and I think this is where it kind of gets back to, it was Cheryl that said it, because he's a public figure.
Yeah.
And we all know Ben is kind of like, Iconelli's kind of like, he's kind of like, it's kind of floated away. And like, Ben is kind of like the new bad boy of fishing.
He is. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So that's public knowledge, especially in the fishing community, in the fishing conservation and law enforcement community.
Yep.
And I think this could have been giving him a call and been like, hey, dickhead.
Yeah.
You realize that you didn't even have a license when you submitted this, right? And he'll be like, oh my God. He's like, all right, take me out, like whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
No, instead, like Cheryl, they basically had to make an example of him. And, it's just completely avoidable. Because he is the bad boy of fishing, he, obviously has some enemies out there to include Uncle Randy, which it was great because Uncle Randy did not fucking absolutely blast them, which he has done in the past.
Yeah, exactly.
And there are, dude, if not for anything, this is going to be a lot of content for a lot of YouTubers, both for and against Ben Milliken.
Yep.
There's going to be a lot of haters out there. A lot of haters out there in the coming days and weeks on Ben, but I think he'll get just as much support.
And Ben is a smart guy. He's no dummy. You know what I mean? I see that mugshot of his becoming like that Johnny Cash mugshot T-shirt. It's like super famous. You know what I mean?
Dude, 6 cents should make it a T-shirt.
They should 100% make it a T-shirt. Yeah, I mean. Dude, I'm telling you, like, there are some, like, I mean, good for him. If nothing else, like, you're going to get people that are going to just be like, oh, he should have had his license, blah, blah, blah. He's getting exactly what he deserves or whatever, just because they're sticklers for whatever, and that's fine. But you're going to have, like, real, yeah?
I have an idea.
What's this?
We have to somehow make it to one of his events this year, and we will make the fucking T-shirts, and we'll wear them at the fucking weigh-in.
I fucking love that idea. I fucking love that idea. Oh my God.
Kind of like how they did that with Tiger Woods when he got arrested. A bunch of kids fucking,
Oh, wow. That's a fucking wild idea. A T-shirt with a no fishing sign behind him. Oh my God.
Man.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Like, it's just insane, and I was like, what the fuck is this all about? Like, I was thinking, like, he went on a fucking bender or something. And, like, so I was thinking something went down like the NPFL situation at the diner. Yeah.
Selling oxys behind Denny's or something.
Oxys on a Waffle House.
Nope, just didn't have a fishing license, that fucking monster.
And that's what he does when he's selling oxys. He's going around. He's like,
you getting any?
And they're like, yeah.
It's been kind of slow. Well, I can make it a little quicker for you.
It work a little bit better. Here you go. I got that new. Have you ever seen that episode of King of the Hill where Hank Hill uses crack cocaine to catch bass?
Yeah, I do. Wow, I forgot about that.
That's great, dude. This is some amazing bait, I'll tell you what. Oh, God. Yeah, so Milliken is, clearly a really redefining what it means to be a degenerate angler. And for that, Ben, we applaud you.
Yep.
I have many times been on the water and been like, oh, fuck, shit, I got to get my license. You know what I mean?
Dude, it's like almost every year I think it happens to me.
Where I'll be like, I'm traveling somewhere and I'm like, oh, shit, it happened in freaking New York. I was like, it happened when I went to Champlain in Vermont. Although, was it? No, because I had gotten my license in like April, or maybe it was like late March. I had gotten my license when I had gone up there, and I was like, oh no, I'm still good. But like every time I just forget, and I'm like, I'll go ahead. The only two that I get at the same time every single year is I get my Mass in Connecticut the first week of January.
Yep.
You know,
but even, like I do the same thing with my Mass one. Like I will buy it right in January.
Yep.
And then like March, April, when I get on the boat for the first time, I'm like, oh my God, like I don't think I bought my license.
Yep. 100%, man.
Because it's been 3 months and you just don't remember, especially if I don't like ice fish at all, which I have in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
You know, and then
true.
so now you're taking 20 minutes to get onto the freaking website to check. And you're like, oh shit, I did buy it. You know what I mean?
I'm good. I got to figure out a way to, you know what I think I need to do? I think I need to start seeing if I can grab like a screen grab of the printed one and put it right in my Apple Wallet.
Ooh,
that would be a smart thing to do. I got to look and see if I can do that, because then I could just go through all my licenses and be like, okay, cool, we're good. Boom. And then when they're expired, I'll just freaking delete them, take them right out.
Yeah. Or like even create like a folder within your
images.
Photos.
Yeah. That's not a terrible idea either.
Yeah.
You know, but then they're all in one spot. I mean, that would be the smart thing to do. But again, like when you're a tournament angler of that degree, and let's say you're fishing half the country, you know?
Yeah.
That's 25 different licenses you need.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Which I think last year they went to I think it was 12 different states they fished in. You know what I mean? So,
and when you're a content creator and you're traveling and you're doing all this other shit, it's the same deal. You know, you're going to be collecting all these. So I'm sure there's licenses that he's needed to acquire before. And it's like, oh, dude. And you know what it was? Once you said it was in February, I was like, I know exactly what it is. It's a fishing license. That's exactly what it was. It was in February, you know?
And you know what?
What?
He probably doesn't fucking buy his own fishing licenses. He probably has an assistant or someone like that who fucking does it for him.
No, he probably had an assistant that did that for him. He probably had an assistant.
Probably unemployed looking for a job now.
Like, son of a bitch. But yeah, that is just nuts. And, you know, everybody was kind of losing their minds over it. I got home last night, and now, truth be told, I had talked to Joe about doing this, and I said, let's do a react to Uncle Randy's videos, because I've already been seeing that people are like, oh, Randy Blockett's already chiming in on it. Yeah. And I got home, and like I do normally, I get, you know, my dinner together, and I throw on a little bit of YouTube, and like I'm seeing the video pop up like every single recommended thing, and I was just like, it's only 3 minutes long. Or something like that. It was under 5 minutes.
I noticed that. Yeah.
I'm like, so I caved and I watched the follow-up first.
Sure.
It was the first one. And I was like, okay, so I'll start here. And I'm like, that's not really any information that I haven't already seen in the last, since I had ended trivia. I had gone back. Because believe me, I was interested in figuring out, number one, is this stuff actually true? And then number two, what kind of bullshit reason is this for? You know? Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what it was. So we had planned to do a react, but we're like, there's really nothing to react to from Randy's video. Yeah, we're going to be discussing it anyway. So it was a little bit freaking insane, man.
Yeah.
Todd chimes in here. He goes, our governor just raised our fishing licenses FTG nomination. That's a big increase.
It is. However, Todd, I'm okay with this. I'm okay with them raising fishing license and sporting license prices as long as they can show proof and you see that they are improving boat ramps, etc. Yeah. Which I've been seeing that in Massachusetts this past year. And I actually have, like, when you hit as many boat ramps as, you know, we do, you actually, I mean, look at Barton's Cove. They had that shut down for like, a month and a half, 2 months to redo that ramp. So I'm okay with it as long as they are showing that they are putting that money into improving the infrastructure of the fishing community.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, you would want that to be the entire situation. And Todd goes, I agree, but we pay for all the state parks in Michigan. Oh yeah, that's how it is. Yeah, that's rough. That's rough. That is, I will say, that is a big jump. I mean, you're talking that's what, $14.
Yeah.
That's a sizable jump. I mean, it's up there.
Yeah, but it's also, you know why? Another reason why they've been raising in a lot of states.
Why is
because
that?
not as many people are getting licenses, so they're just compensating to get back to where they were.
To where they had been, yeah, because their budget had inflated significantly, I'm sure, in 2020, 2021 as well, and then started to peter back down. Yeah, there's a lot of people too that are just like, I've talked to people, you know, when I've been out working, and they'll be like, "Oh, you still out fishing?" I was like, "Oh, absolutely." And these are folks that were fishing earlier on, and I'm like, "How about you?" And they're like, "Nah, I kind of fell out of it. You know, I gotta renew my license." And I'm like, "Gotcha."
Yeah,
that makes sense. There's a lot of people out there that are just fucking riding dirty too, which I think is insane.
Yep.
I really do. I'm like, what kind of POS are you? Mm-hmm. What are you, Ben Milliken? Oh my God. Oh my good Lord.
Crazy that they actually booked this dude in jail for it's insane.
I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine what. I'd love to have been a fly on the wall to see what the engagement was like between like the folks that were actually booking him and processing all this stuff. Like, were they laughing about this? Like,
it looks so by his booking photo.
Yeah, I'm sure he was. But
oh yeah, for sure. He don't care.
That is awesome.
He don't care. It's not gonna reflect anything in his professional career.
It's really not. It's really, really not.
Because I mean, that dude does so much for the fucking community.
Oh,
whether you love him or hate him.
Yep, absolutely.
You know,
he's certainly done more.
You can't argue that.
Yeah, he's certainly done more for the fishing community than you, meaning anybody else, has.
Sure.
You know, for sure.
Yep.
Let's go ahead. We're going to take a quick break, guys. When we get back, our next segment is jam-packed with all kinds of good stuff. I am going to be talking about Finesse Jigs, a standby, a go-to lure for the winter season. Some tips on fishing them in cold water to get them the most out of them. And then we're going to be talking about a little trip down, a little walk with lunacy that Bobby Roast Beef had to deal with this week. This is something else. Actually, this would have been the guest for this week's show. That would have been this week's show. So I'll explain all of that stuff. And of course, before we go ahead and wrap up, we got no, actually, I think that about does it. Let's go ahead. We'll take a quick break. We'll get back for our second segment right after this. Jigs and Bigs wants to take a moment to say thank you to our partners for helping us continue to push the limits of our fishing adventures and bring you amazing long-form podcast content. We need to thank Dark Horse Tackle, Omnia Fishing, A-Bay Lure, The Bay House, and The Ship Motel. We can't forget about Three Bells Outfitters, Torres Sunglasses, and of course, Reaction Tackle. Be sure to check the description of this podcast for any associated affiliate links or promo codes they've generously provided our listening audience. Again, we cannot thank our partners enough for their support. Please consider supporting them and supporting the show in the same process. Thanks.
This episode is brought to you by AWS. Amazon Q Business is the new generative AI assistant from AWS. Many tasks can make business slow, like wading through mud. Help! Luckily, there's a faster, easier, less messy choice. Amazon Q can securely understand your business data to help you streamline tasks, like summarizing quarterly results or doing complex analyses in no time. Q got this. Learn what Amazon Q Business can do for you at aws.com/learn more.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Upgrade your business with Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning fewer carts going abandoned and more sales going cha-ching. So if you're into growing your business, get a commerce platform that's ready to sell wherever your customers are. Visit Shopify.com to upgrade your selling today.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. the one with the impeccable taste in fishing podcasts. Bobby Roast Beef here with a little call to action for all Jigs and Bigs listeners. We're opening up our hotline to you. Now you can call us to sound off about almost anything at 413-324-8519. Want to submit someone for our FTG segment? Call us at 413-324-8519. Care to maybe suggest a topic for Just the Tip or Bait of the Week? Call us at 413-324-8519. Maybe you just want to give us or anyone else a little shout out on the show, or you want to suggest a guest for the beef seat. You guessed it. Call us at 413-324-8519. The Jigs and Bigs hotline is there for you to leave a message with us 24/7. Just call 413-324-8519. Also, you can check that number in the notes of this podcast.
And perhaps play a little game called Just the Tip. Just for a second, just to see how it feels. Or, ouch, ouch, you're on my hair.
Okay.
Alrighty, guys. Bobby Roast Beef here, Jigs and Bigs. We got the Just the Tip segment here. And today, we're talking about finesse jigs. Finesse jigs are a favorite presentation of mine really throughout the year. Anytime I want to downsize a little bit and get a smaller presentation, a finesse jig is a great go-to, has a great secondary action. They're really, really versatile presentations to throw. That's a little bit beefier than like a Ned rig or something, but lighter than your, and a little bit more subtle than your, giant flipping jigs or something like that. But let's talk about some tips when it comes to fishing them in this cold water specifically, and they can be cold water killers. When you're fishing finesse jigs in early winter, specifically, focus on pausing and dragging the jig slowly along the bottom rather than hopping it too aggressively. Fish are lethargic, and they're more likely to strike a subtle, natural-looking presentation. It all comes down to their metabolism and what's going on there. So the smaller size makes it seem like a more reasonable snack for them to attack and try to grab those calories. But by slowing it down, you're also going to trigger a bite or a reaction from them. Use a compact trailer. When you are pairing a trailer with your finesse jig, pair your finesse jig with a small, more subtle trailer like a chunk style or a craw imitation with less action to match the slower activity of prey that's found in cold water. Fish deeper structure. Target the rocky points, steep drop-offs, or the edges of wintering holes where fish are holding. And then match the hatch. It's always a great idea. Choose natural colors like green pumpkin, brown, or black and blue that can mimic local forage, especially crayfish. Experiment with leaving the jig still for longer periods of times, as sometimes a pause presentation can trigger a bite from a more sluggish fish. Now, one thing that I do want to mention here is also, we talk about dragging that jig on the bottom. The fall can be equally as important. So there is sort of two methods when it's fishing a jig. You cast that jig out to a spot, it falls, and a slower fall can often trigger a bite. So maybe think a little bit lighter. If you're fishing in that shallow water, throwing like an 1/8 ounce or even a 3/32 ounce jig is going to slow that fall a little bit. And that skirt material too, like I made the comparison with a Ned, that skirt material is going to slow that fall much slower than a Ned that's falling. So when that bait hits the bottom, then you've got the second opportunity to be able to trigger a bite, and that's by dragging it along the bottom slowly. But 100%, consider all of it. Consider the weight of your jig, for your fall. But when you get it on the bottom, drag it super slow and make bottom contact. That's a huge deal. Joe, you also like finesse jigs as well. You're actually pretty partial to the B.A.S.S Coast finesse jigs, right?
Yep. Yeah, I love B.A.S.S Coast products. If you guys really want a great finesse jig, it's a great one to look into. I go for tungsten.
Yep.
Not only because that's what we're supposed to use here in Mass, but just you get you get, if you use, those tungsten finesse jigs with the right line, the right rod, the sensitivity, you can feel every pebble you walk over or you drag on. Yeah, I love Beast Coast. They're definitely my go-to finesse jig, but I've been dabbling into other stuff this year, in my travels this year, a lot of, especially the Dark Horse boxes, which, like we have to be careful due to, most of them being lead, but I've had the opportunity to use a lot of them, just be going fishing in other states that don't have those lead laws, but Beast Coast is my number one, but even I can't think of. There's other companies out there I use, but I've also been big into hair jigs this year too. Very popular in cold water. And,
I'll say this much. A lot of people look at finesse jigs and they're just like, finesse jig? Like, what does that mean? Is it under a certain weight? For a long time, I thought that's what it was. And that's not right. That's not accurate. Finesse jigs generally are a smaller presentation, not necessarily lighter. And more times than not, it's the hook that's a little bit different. It's a little bit of a finer hook than a standard hook, but that's not always a constant. And I'll give you an example. So there's two finesse jigs off the top of my head that I really, really enjoy. One of them is a little bit new to the fold specifically, but there's a handful of styles of jig that fit that similar sort of wheelhouse. One of those jigs is the Giltech finesse jig that I've been using for now like 2 years, and it's absolutely dynamite. Super light. I like them in a 3/16 size usually, and that hook is a little bit more of a finer hook. I don't think there's any real weed guard on these. I could be mistaken, but it's a subtle jig. It's got a great fall rate with that lighter weight. And then you switch gears to that new Martin's Custom Baits FX finesse jig that they just released. That's got a straight up downsized like flipping hook. It's a heavy hook, and it's for heavy cover, but it comes in. I think that's a 5/16 ounce jig, right? And just the profile, the size of the skirt, the size of the hook, the hook shank length specifically really does kind of downsize that. But that is a heavy, heavy cover kind of jig. I throw those finesse jigs on two totally different combos. Like I'll throw that Martin's finesse jig on my standard 7 foot. What is it? What am I using now? A 7-1 medium heavy fast with like 20-pound fluoro. And I'm throwing that thing in laydowns. I'm throwing it up against like rocky banks and shit like that. With the Giltech finesse jig, I'm throwing that on a 7 foot medium spinning rod, for the most part, with like 20-pound braid to a 10-pound or an 8-pound leader most of the time. And I'm throwing that usually up against like those rocky points and those ledges. That's where I'm going to use that because of that slow fall rate. But finesse jig is a tricky term because a lot of people get kind of confused with like, well, what is it? Does it have to be under a 1/4 ounce? And it's like, definitely not. And in fact, when we get to the gear of the week, we're going to talk about a really interesting finesse jig that's in this box that I was really interested to get my hands on. And it's by a pretty awesome company too. So if you have some finesse jigs, go out there and try them out. Make sure that you follow some of the stuff that we talked about as far as looking for that deeper structure, those rocky points, steep drop-offs and edges of wintering holes where you could find fish hiding. It's a great spot to target. And, I always say match the hatch all the time. And remember, you don't need a high-action trailer when you're using this. Something like a chunk can be just absolute solid gold. And again, bait of the week, you're going to see something that we're very excited about here. So we are going to move on to our FTG right here. We just had, who the fuck is Joe Brown, just fall off the face of the earth here, but he'll be back. Let's go ahead and do it.
Hey guys, it's Bobby Roast Beef here, and I'm calling in an FTG right now. This one goes out to a potential guest for the show. Instagram, he's known as Smallmouth Messiah. Anyway, I had been going back and forth for months about having Smallmouth Messiah on the podcast to talk about all things fishing in Tennessee and everything else. And, well, he finally bit the bullet and used the Calendly link that I send out to all potential guests to set up a slot to record for the show. Well, as it would turn out, coincidentally, he had some sort of technical issue or something that happened, and his online accounts and I don't know, I guess apparently some of his bank information was compromised or something like that. None of which had anything to do with myself or Calendly. It just coincidentally happened after that situation. However, that didn't stop old boy from coming at Bobby Roast Beef, flying off the handle, using some hate speech in the DMs, which was immediately all I needed to block his ass. And, you know, we had a little bit of a conversation. I tried to assure him that I have zero interest in his online affairs whatsoever, and that I certainly wasn't going to be having somebody on the show who is, you know, potential schizophrenic or dealing with multiple personalities or anything like that that could be so, I don't know, quick to fly off the handle. Anyway, by the end of it all, he was kind of apologizing over it. I blocked his ass anyway. But do yourself a favor and don't follow that guy. He's a fucking absolute whack job. And it is what it is. Now back to the show, and Bobby can go and cite some of the specific quotes from the DMs that I'm sure he's got the screenshots to.
Oh, I do. So I had sent this to Joe, actually, and I was like, I just went to, like, dude, this shit had my blood pressure, like, fucking through the roof.
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet.
I was like,
when you sent it to me, I'm like, what in the hell is this dude's problem?
So he and I started talking months ago. This was back when... I want to see, you remember that story where there was a video that came out with a kid who had been trespassing and fishing like an HOA pond, and like the homeowner came out, broke his rod, and we were talking about that, and this came through where like he is in that area, and he was like, oh yeah, he's like, I'm gonna go and find the guy's house and blah 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 blah, and it turns out like he was part of like some like Haitian ministry or something, and like was just it was just a mess. And he goes, so I mean, it was a little bit sketchy. I was like, is this guy like legit, or is he just joking around? I thought he was joking around. Now I'm thinking maybe he wasn't. So he says, he goes, he chimes in and he DMs me or this is out of the blue. This is what, like Thursday night? Or Thursday morning. He says, he's like, damn, bro. He's like, did you dox me? He's like, my shit's been all fucked up since I scheduled that, whatever. And I was like, no, whatever's going on has nothing to do with me, man. I've booked hundreds of guests using that site. I've never had any issues. And he just keeps saying over and over, lesson learned, lesson learned. And I was like, well, what's going on? And he just tells me, shit's fucked up. He's like, it happened right after I did that with you. I appreciate it, man. Lesson learned. And I was like, weird. So he goes, no, man, you fucked me. He goes, I appreciate it. It'll all come back. And I was like, I did nothing. Like, I legitimately did nothing. He's like, oh, never had these issues with this, lesson learned. And I was like, what the fuck issues, man? I sent you to this service that I use to book appointments. And I've used it for years with hundreds of people that have used this exact link before. No issues have ever been mentioned, let alone I don't know what you're having problems with. Instagram, your browser, I literally have no idea what you're saying when you say that you have, quote, problems. And he goes, can't post, locked out of multiple accounts, pretty serious issues. It all happened right after I sent my shit to you. You fucked me. It'll all come back around. And I said, I'll cancel the meeting, man, whatever. I'm not going to let someone accuse me of fuckery. I said, but I'm sorry for what you're dealing with, but for real, I've got zero to do with it. He says, yeah, I don't want to be on there. Thanks for fucking my shit. So I respond and say, fuck you, bro. He goes, fuck you too. And I was like, I did nothing. You can go fuck right off, you cunt. He goes, okay, I will. And then he dropped one word that I won't repeat. But he dropped one word that was like, now I can report him. Done deal. So I was like, fucking hey, there you go. And then I followed it up. I said, keep it going. He goes, cunt. I said, is that all you got? He goes, I don't care, bro. Whatever. You're already done. Keep threatening me some more. I was like, I never threatened you. I was like, 0 threats, homie. You are unhinged. He goes, sorry I agreed to do your show. I don't care. Dox me more. Shows who you are. Not going to be good for me. I never threatened you. I just said, thanks for all the BS. Actually, he did threaten me. If you go back a few, he said, it's all going to come back. So I would take that as a threat. He says, dox me some more, shows who you are. Not going to be good for me. I never threatened you. I just said thanks for all the BS. I've been trying to get into my account since I tried to schedule with your app. And then I followed up with like, what app? I go, it's a website, not an app. Like, I don't know what you clicked off of, your browser or anything like that, but that's got nothing to do with me. You don't have any idea what kind of technology you're using.
Maybe don't use technology. Take a step back.
So I was like, at this point, I was done. Like, there's only been really 1 or 2 people who are blacklisted from the show, and he's one of them. Done deal. I'm like, I'm not going to have him on the show. And sure, people are going to say like, well, why are you talking about him now? And blah, 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 blah. I'm talking about him so you know what kind of lunatic you're dealing with. If you're dealing with Smallmouth Messiah on Instagram, this guy is absolutely nuts. I should say that the rest of the conversation did continue. And eventually he's like, well, if you didn't do it, I'm sorry. And blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, I was floored by that because I'm like, why the fuck would you come at somebody so hard with 0 evidence that they did anything to you and then apologize? You know what I mean? So I was like, yeah, I'm trying to block you. He was like, I'll leave you alone so you can block me. I'm like, I feel like this happens a lot with him. So I'm like, done deal. Holy shit. FTG. What the fuck? Let me tell you guys something about Jigs and Bigs. When we hit you up for an interview or invite you to be on the show, either as a guest host or something like that, I don't give a fuck about your personal information, and I never will. I'm never going to ask you for a credit card. I'm never going to ask you for anything. This is a legitimate content creation organization. I wasn't going to go there, but Jay Manning's making me go there. Jay Manning says, Dark Bobby is back. And then Cheryl Bentley says, wow, unhinged for sure. And then Jay says, and this is what I was talking about, he goes, as they say in the South, bless his soul. Yeah, he gets the biggest
bless your heart
you've ever heard.
Nice,
my God.
It's nice to have Jay back in the comments. It is
good to have Jay in the comments, man. That is fucking crazy. So yeah, I was a little bit floored. I was like, what the fuck? So yeah, I was like, that's why I was I egging him on? I was like, is that all you got? Keep going. Keep going. Come on, keep going. And that's what I wanted. I wanted him to drop something I could report him with. And that's what I got.
Yeah.
Done deal. You know what I mean? I'm like, come on, man. Like, it's very obvious that he clicked something or went to a site he shouldn't have at some point or something like that. It's got nothing to do with the service that I use to book appointments, which is Calendly. I tell everybody. Bless his little heart. Love the way you tell a story. Jay says, we will pray for him. Thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and prayers. God. Oh, good Lord. So, yeah, I mean, it's just, it's one of those things. I'm like, my God, like, dude, I'm a middle-aged man in New England. I don't give a fuck about your fucking, and from the way it sounds, actually, it was affecting some of his like financial apps or something like that. Cause he's like, oh, they took all my money. I'm like, dude, why are you fucking complaining to me about that? I would retrace all the fucking steps of what you've fucking logged on to, what emails you opened, anything like that. Did an Ethiopian fucking prince reach out to you? Maybe look there, you know? Jay says, I'm a bit chatty after a month off. Oh, that comes with the territory, my friend.
That's okay.
We welcome it. That's our business. Yep. So, yeah, he just made him see. He went from being in the beef seat to now being the FTG. That's a first. I've never seen that happen, but here we are. Here we are. Good stuff. But we do have some gear to talk about, and this is going to be a fun one. I'm really excited about this.
Okay, gearheads, it's time to talk tools. Jigs and Bigs Gear of the Week.
I don't know about you, but I consider it to be an honor to be aggressively average, in many ways, but even in fishing. And the aggressively average, that sounded like Michigan right there, average. The aggressively average anglers. Oh my God.
Can't wait to hear about this box. Don't you know, Bobby?
Don't you know, Bobby? So see these two guys right there? That's Jeff and that's Paul. And they are the aggressively average anglers, and they have collaborated with Dark Horse Tackle on the aggressively average Christmas box. And this sucker is chock full of all kinds of good stuff. Jeff and Paul put together some amazing content on their YouTube channel, Aggressively Average Anglers. So you can follow them on Instagram on the handle is
Anglers.
They've got they like to tag their stuff by saying tackle, kayak, and gear reviews, instructional videos, multi-species fishing, and general tomfoolery. They're not kidding about the general tomfoolery. And I love that they're like, it's all like, there are no like behind the scenes, because everything they do is like super inclusive and fun. Like they're creating the videos, and you're sort of like, it's just a very unique take. And I think that their stuff is really fantastic. And the reviews are among the best out there. Like I put certain content creators for reviews in a certain category, and up at the top of the list for sure there's like Debo and Aggressively Average Anglers, because they're straight up with their stuff as far as their opinions, the good, the bad, the ugly, the everything in between. And what I specifically love about Aggressively Average Anglers is the way they bring in the metric of value. You know, versus cost. Like, oh, this was so expensive. Like, it's about value, and they get that. I love that about these guys. And the box that they put together, it reflects that entirely. Let's go ahead item to item, and we'll jump in here and see what we got. So the first thing we have coming with us is from A.B.A. Lure Lab, which I kind of love that A.B.A.'s in this box. Because it's just like, it shows that the appeal is growing. You know what I mean? This is a 110 jerkbait right here. It suspends at 4 to 6 feet. It is this is an Excelsior pattern that I've got. It's got some gold and some white with some black patches right there, but nice. I love like over by the gills. How it's got that red.
Actually, I have that one.
You have this one?
I love that thing. Yeah. I've caught some nice fish off. Actually, I'm like 90% sure that is the pattern I was using when I caught those 2 3-pounders at once on the A.B.A. jerkbait.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Or it's very similar.
That's good to know. That's really, really good to know. I have some work to do with one of my reels because I'm going to be having a jerkbait tied onto it for the next, 4 or 5 months.
Yep.
And that's going to be just the way that it is for a little while. So, yeah, this 110 jerkbait right here, this is pretty badass. It's 4.5 inches long. It's got a rattle in it, and it comes rigged with number 8 Vector Tornado hooks on the front, middle, and rear hook. I mean, this is a fish killer right here. Absolutely fantastic. It's a great bait from them. I'm going to jump into this from Jig Masters next. These are a Jig Masters underspin. These are the ones I have are a 1/4 ounce. It's like a sled head design. So it's not a round ball head jig at all. This is like a sled head. There's 2 in this pack right here. And what I like about these is that they are screw lock, number 1. Bobby Roast Beef loves a screw lock. I also love that. Look at the arm on this. The way it juts down and puts that blade, just separates it a little bit further back into an angle. And this is a great little underspin here. Nice finesse hook. This is going to stick the hell out of anything that bites this sucker. So yeah, this is an absolute freaking beaut right here. And to pair with that, we have some stuff from a company that I think, Joe, you especially will really, really like. Some Fish or Die.
Hell yeah.
Some
the dagger?
Baits. Yep, the dagger.
Yep.
And this is, I'll tell you, it's kind of like a chartreuse look.
I did not know that they were going to be in this month. I'm going to have to call Taylor and tell him what the F.
This is a nice winter season. Look at that. And the dagger, what's interesting, it's not a paddle tail.
Nope.
It's like a vertical fin. This would actually be really nice for a bladed jig, too. but it's got a nice body shape that I have to see it in the water. I think this is going to have some nice roll to it. Yeah, this is pretty badass, dude. I think that's going to be pretty sweet.
Yep. Yeah, that's a cool bait.
And on the underspin, I think that's going to be really, really nice. That's going to get munched right there. But I'll tell you, this style tail is going to be that much more effective than a 90-degree like paddle tail that's going to give a lot of motion like that. That colder water, this is going to pay off. Where did I put the bag? I put the bag right here. Yeah, these look really good. Yeah, the dagger. This is a really, really nice. And, you know me. I love smallmouth and chartreuse and smallmouth. Hello. Next up, you could also pair this on that same underspin right there. It might be a little bit long shanked of a hook, but I'm going to try and rig it and see how we come up with. This is a Swamp Pros. It's a 2.8-inch Bones swim bait. Now, this one is a type of paddle tail right here, but it's a 2.8-inch black and blue, right? Beautiful, beautiful color right there. Nice thin material right here before the tail. So this is going to give you some of that kick. What's nice about downsizing like this is that lots of times, like we said with the Finesse jigs, bringing your presentation down a hair can get you more bites because this time of year, the metabolisms are a whole different ballgame. Now, there's actually two things that I would put this on, and we'll get to that second item in just a moment. But this is a really, really good paddle tail. If you need to downsize a little bit, it's kind of nice that you have that option. You can probably, I should probably rig one of these up to show you guys. I'm looking at the hook, and I think a 2.8 would be good. That might be a little bit large for it, but I actually have some other terminal that these would work great on, even for BFS. And then that brings us to this bad Larry. We're talking Finesse jigs, and this was actually what got me thinking about it. So this is from B.A.S.S. Dope. B.A.S.S. Dope we were introduced last month to on our box. This is the football finesse jig, right? The color that they sent me is called Black Magic, and it is a 1/4 ounce jig, right? With a little bit longer of a finesse cut on the skirt. You guys can see how it kind of pops up like that, but it is a football head, right? It is a football head. Has a little bit lighter of a weed guard right here. And look at that hook, like I was talking about, that like slightly more finesse-y, finer wire hook. This is a dead giveaway right here when you're talking about finesse jigs. Look how compact this profile is overall. I'm holding it right at the curve of the hook. Like this is a 1/4 ounce jig. It's a good size finesse jig, but with the ball head, your Rocky Points, this is your guy.
Are you gonna trim that weed guard down?
If I have to, I won't start with it.
Okay.
I won't start with it trimmed. I'm going to throw it just as is and see if it gets bit. Now, I want to show you guys two things. I think now with a football head, like a football head's not going to help for this presentation at all. But if you were to just take one of those Swamp Pros Bones, right, and rig this puppy. And this is kind of going to be half-assed right here because I'm trying to do it quick, and my light down here isn't great, but I think we're going to do all right. With this presentation, you can swim this sucker.
You know what that presentation would be good for?
What's that?
Light current.
Light current, yeah. Drag it along the bottom. This
Get that tail up in the air,
tail
and
kicking,
moving a little bit.
100%, yeah. Light current. That might be a river friggin' go-to. Okay.
Yeah. Rocky Bottom.
Rocky Bottoms. But there's one more. It is the aggressively average Christmas box, and with it being the holidays, why not double down just a little bit and have some fun with a chunk style bait? You know, we mentioned it before how the chunks are, that much more effective with finesse jigs, and this is from Blue Rock Custom Tackle. Blue Rock makes some really, really great stuff. They have this little chunk. Let me actually get the name off the card. What do they call this? The Blue Rock. Where is it? It's the trash chunk. It's a 6-pack. This is a really compact chunk with some nice almost kind of reminds me of like how Strike King has the edges on their chunks or on their on their edge, like the Rage style, how it comes up. It's a little bit more of a wedge here on the outside, but look at the it is a true chunk. But you take that. Where did I put that jig? Here's that jig. You take this chunk and you pop it on this finesse jig. Buckle the fuck up. Now, there's a couple ways that you can rig chunks. I like to thread mine onto the hook so that it's a little bit more compact. But there are people who will take a chunk and just throw it on the hook it around the bottom of the hook. But when you look at this, how beautifully compact, and I'm going to hold it by the weed guard. I'm about to eat that. Like, that's how freaking awesome this is. Like, this is, and that's why I would leave this skirt just the way it is for the time being. I think that this has
the skirt's good. I think that, me personally, I think the weed guard's a little long.
Oh, the weed guard, yeah, that could come down a little bit.
Not the skirt.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and actually, really, having a long weed guard like this is really good to show it off.
Yeah,
it really kind of is. But like, that's a beautiful looking jig right there.
It is. I actually really like that a lot. That would be a smally killer right there.
This 100% would be a smally killer for sure. And it's a 1/4 ounce, so it's a little bit lighter. It'll have a slower fall. It's got some bulky skirt material right here. Those claws from this chunk are going to catch some water and also slow it down. So like, you go to the right spot, and you cast this thing out there along a ledge, and it's just going to drift down. You are very likely going to get bit as this is on its way down. But once it gets on the bottom and you start dragging it over some of those rocks, this thing's going to get ate, and it's going to get ate hard.
Now, let me ask you this, Bobby. For that finesse jig, since we talked finesse jigs today as well, what's your rod setup, your broad line setup for one of those? For
this jig?
Yeah, for like a finesse jig in that quarter ounce realm.
Like a 1/4 ounce. I mean, I could, with a 1/4 ounce, to be perfectly honest, I could realistically comfortably throw this on 2 different rigs. My standard jig rig, my standard jig rod will throw a 1/4 ounce bait with no problem. I do think that I'm not throwing this in heavy cover, so I'm more than likely going to throw this on my 7-foot medium spinning rod. For line, I've got a 20-pound braid on there as my main line and an 8-pound leader. That'll definitely get the job done. 1/4 ounce is a little bit too large for me to throw on my B.A.S.S.
Yeah.
If this were like 3/16 or like 3/30s. Yeah, no, if it were like 3/16, it would probably be about the top end. That's usually about the top end of what I'll throw there. So like the Giltech finesse jigs, I'll throw. In fact, I have some Giltech finesse jigs that are black and blue, and those blue rock chunks are going to come in very, very, very handy right there. Yeah, carefully salted and scented. I'm stoked to throw this Bass Dope jig. And let's see, what are the sizes they have available? Oh, it goes to 3/16 and 1/8. Oh, that's good to know. That is good to know. And then the final thing that's in the box, because it is Christmas, some Vector hooks.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, some Vector hooks right here. These are, what do we have in here? These are 1/0 cut SSW straight eyes. These are great hooks. I would use these to wacky with. If you're not using a weedless or a weightless, for like a weightless wacky, these are freaking unbelievable. You're gonna stick them big time. There's a great gap in here, and I mean, they're Vectors, man. You cannot go wrong. So not too shabby, fellas, for your aggressively average Christmas box. I would say this is a good size. I would say that this is a pretty damn good box right here.
Yep. That's a good one.
All
Can't
the
wait to get
fellas
mine.
involved did very well. I am really excited to get out to Cape Cod and throw around some finesse jigs. I know a couple of specific rocky points I'm looking forward to. They should be really good. But I'm excited. What a great box this month from Dark Horse Tackle. The Aggressively Average Anglers dudes did great. Jeff and Paul knocked it out of the park. We've had Jeff and Paul on the show before. You can go back and listen in the back episodes. They're absolutely fantastic. I have spoken with them a couple of times about doing a trivia showdown for Something Fishy Trivia. So look forward to that. That'll be coming up in the next handful of months. And we got some good stuff, some good content for this show. Let's go ahead. We'll take a short break, and then we'll come back around. We're going to catch up with our jig heads, give a couple of shout outs and stuff, and wrap things up all nice and pretty. We'll see you in a bit. Don't go too far. More Jigs and Bigs coming up right after this. Hey guys, Bobby Roast Beef here from Jigs and Bigs. You know, if there's one thing I can't stand spending money on, it's on something that's not versatile, something that I can't get a lot of use out of. I want to talk to you about Frost Buddy. What Frost Buddy is it's one of those can coolers. I've seen these before. In fact, I have some that are limited to only fitting one specific size of can, like a standard 12-ounce can. I stumbled onto Frost Buddy, and I was blown away with it. So versatile. Fits standard cans, tall cans, slim cans, and even 12-ounce bottles. And the magic is the insert fits all of these items in various stages within the insert. And when you take that out, you can fit a full 16-ounce tall boy can. In fact, it even doubles down on being versatile with the coffee lid. And on my recent trip to Chickamauga, I had a field day with this thing. I was throwing beer cans in it. I'd have coffee in the morning. On the drive, I was throwing in all different sizes of cans for different canned coffee products to keep me awake on the long drive back. The thing was amazing. So I recommend you check out Frost Buddy. If you're in the market for either a travel cup for your coffee or a can cooler at all, either one of those, check it out. For the money, you cannot go wrong. What I've done is this. In the show notes for this podcast you're listening to right now, if you look there, you'll find a link to Frost Buddy where you can get yours. And not only can you go and get your Frost Buddy there, but you can help out the show as well. Go and visit that link in the show notes to this podcast. Check out a Frost Buddy. Tons of colors, tons of patterns, all kinds of great stuff. And it's a great spot to put your Jigs and Big sticker too. Take it from me, Bobby Roast Beef. You're going to get the most versatility out of this one product, probably out of anything you're ever going to buy, especially for anything that you're drinking. Frost Buddy. It works for me. I'm a happy guy.
So, you want to be a marketer. It's easy. You just have to score a ton of leads and figure out a way to turn them all into customers. Plus, manage a dozen channels, write a million blogs, and launch 100 campaigns all at once. When that's done, simply make your socials go viral and bring in record profits. No sweat. Okay, fine. It's a lot of sweat. But with HubSpot's AI-powered marketing tools, launching benchmark-breaking campaigns is easier than ever. Get started at HubSpot.com/marketers.
This year, Santa's bringing the power of Energizer into his workshop.
Whoa, the Energizer Bunny's got so much power.
Wait, he's powered up all the toys. I think that means we're done for the year.
I love this bunny.
He's the hardest working helper the North Pole has ever seen. And he wants all your gifts to have the power of the #1 longest lasting AA battery. So this holiday season, stock up on Santa's and the elves' favorite battery, Energizer Ultimate Lithium.
Well, I'll tell you what, I feel like this is a pretty damn good show this week, man. We had some headlines to review and talk about, some wild shit. The world of fishing is just a crazy place. We got angling superstars getting arrested and thrown into the clink. We got tournament directors and tournament competitors throwing hands at the local diner. We talked about how I have been just abusing my boat because I'm an absolute degenerate piece of shit, but I think I got it all together. And of course, we have the jig heads here who have been with us the whole time, jumping in the show. Let's get caught up with the jig heads here. John Hagen's jumped in. He says, "Good morning, fellas." And then Cheryl says, "Oh, when we were reviewing that Dark Horse tackle box in the Gear of the Week segment," Cheryl goes, "The paint job on that 110 is amazing. I got a bluegill pattern. It's beautiful." I think I know the bluegill pattern, Cheryl, that you're talking about. Chris does a great job with his bluegill patterns. Like, they are so dead on. Like, they're unbelievable. If you're a Clearwater angler, like, those baits are very helpful to have on hand because they really do look the part. Todd says them underspins with a nice little lovey-dovey face right there. I love Jigmaster's sled heads. I love Jigmaster's perfected ball heads too. That underspin looks absolutely awesome. I'm stoked to go and send it. Todd says he's going to go trim his weed guard. That's the right button, Bobby. And then Cheryl chimes in. She says, "Those little chunks will be the first bait I put on a jig when water opens back up. My go-to spring presentation." I agree. I think it's you cannot go wrong with here. Then John says, "After all that, back to work for me. Just wanted to check in. Still on the overtime trail with 8 days to go. Have a good one." John and I did some talking this week, and he is planning on sending it hard very soon after he's done with all this OT and stuff. And I think I'm going to have to make a trip out to Ohio and fish with John sometime this spring. Go out and do some catfishing and see if we can't make some shit happen. What's so funny?
Bobby, I got some breaking news here.
Oh, I love breaking news.
Hold on. Let me just find it here. Ben Milliken has recently changed his profile picture on his Instagram.
Oh, he has? Yes.
To his mugshot.
Yes. He's a bad boy. He's a bad boy. Oh, my God. What a week. What an absolute crazy week. Again,
what a show.
It was a great show.
It was a great show.
I have to say, I got to give credit to the Jigs and Bigs listeners out there. Like, y'all showed up last week for last week's show. Like, I'm going through these numbers like, and I should say for what it is, I have hit a milestone on YouTube. I posted on my story yesterday. I was at 419 subscribers, and I said, who is going to be the one that's going to get me to 420? And I posted that, and within, I think it was like 2 or 3 hours right there. Who was it? Oh, it was Victoria Alonso sent me a message. She goes, "I got you," and I'm at 420. So I am a very, very happy boy. We made it, baby. We made it. But it blows me away that we have the listens right there on the episode of last week's podcast over on YouTube. We've never had a showing like that on YouTube. And on the podcast for last week, like, it is like we have these ebbs and flows where, like, there's hot points of the year and then lower points of the year. And I mean, we're just legitimately, we're like 6 times the regular listens on an episode that we would be at this point. And I'm just absolutely floored. You guys are amazing. The real absolute goats. I'm wondering also, remember a few episodes ago, I had mentioned to the listeners, I said, if you are a fan of the show, share this podcast with somebody. Send them a DM with your favorite episode, whatever it may be, something like that, because there have just been crazy amounts of listens. And I'm amazed and humbled, really. But all of you guys are absolutely amazing. You guys know that our listeners are the best in the world. We genuinely believe that. Jigs and Bigs is a weekly fishing podcast, and we would love it if you would share it with your friends, because we're not only just trying to talk tips and tricks, though we are trying to give you some value there. We're trying to entertain you as well within that fishing space. Who the fuck is Joe Brown and myself are completely, in a lot of ways, totally different anglers, and I kind of think that makes for a really, really good, entertaining show when it comes to perspective. You know, Joe, was it Jay Manning? It was Jay Manning. Jay Manning just sent a bunch of dragon, a bunch of goats over to us. But Jay had mentioned some of the roundtable discussions, and those are 100% going to happen. In fact, I feel like one of the ones that needs to happen like just painfully fast. And you had mentioned something yesterday that I thought was interesting. I think the roundtable about boat, kayak, or bank needs to happen soon. I think that one needs to happen soon, because when I had shared the info that I had gotten about the Milliken situation, Operation Milliken, when I sent that over to Joe, I told him, I was like, I found this in a bunch of like kayak fishing groups. I was just going through Facebook and I happened to stumble on these, and I was like, and I can't find anything else anywhere. And Joe's like, he goes, there's a lot of like the kayakers that just hate all the big bass boat guys. Like, it's just built into their DNA, and that's just the way it is. And I was like, it got me thinking, like,
can't we all just get along, man?
I'm like, what can we do? Let's figure it all out. And it made me think of a reel that I thought spoke a lot to that same point. Mm-hmm. There's a reel where you have like these two guys, and on one of them it says bass boats, the other one it says fishing kayaks, and they're like shaking hands or something like that, and they walk away, and in the background there's like this homeless guy wrapped up in like styrofoam.
I think I shared that on Instagram.
Yeah, I think you did. And I'm like that would be a great conversation. Like, why is it that we have to? Because I think even in the big boat world, there's splits too. I think that you have a difference between like the fiberglass and the aluminum team, and it blows my mind. Like, as humans, we just love to divide stuff. It's what we do. And there's definitely conversations that are going to be on there, but I think that's got to be one of the first ones that we kick into for sure. I'm going to go back and look at the Patreon and find out which jig heads were interested in being involved in some of these roundtables. I'll be hitting y'all up for this stuff. This is something that's going to go on through the winter. It probably is going to just take the place of a standard recording. It's not going to be an addition to or anything like that. So we'll do a show, and it's going to be a roundtable show. We may record separately for like just the tip or the interview segment if we have that. This might end up being in place of the interview segment. We'll figure out how it all kind of works out, but I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be really, really fun. So with that said, let's go ahead and wrap this sucker up.
Let's do it.
You guys are absolutely awesome. Remember, please tag us in all of your fishing exploits. If you're posting on social media, tag us in there so we can engage with you and show you a little bit of love. Like, comment, share, follow, all that good stuff. We appreciate what you guys are doing for the show. We especially appreciate those of you that are taking it to that next level and being a jig head and signing up to our Patreon. You can do so. Just go over to jigsandbigs.com. There is a little button there that you can hit that says become a patron. Click that sucker. It's a $5 a month subscription. It gets you full access to the recording of all these shows. Plus, anytime we have a partner that comes on that's new, we like to try to give our jig heads a little something extra. Anytime we can. Believe us, jig heads, we are always thinking about you guys first. Like, how can we best serve the jig head community? And by all means, if you want to be a part of that circle and get some info before things actually happen, that's a great way to go ahead and do it. So go ahead and become a patron. If you don't want to subscribe but you want to support the show, check the description of this podcast. There's a link for Buy Me a Coffee. You can buy a coffee for Jigs and Bigs right there. One time. It's a great way to help support the show. We would appreciate it. You guys are the absolute best as always. And we can't thank you guys enough. Make sure to be following us on all of our socials. Both Joe and I are on Instagram, on Facebook. We both have YouTube channels, and make sure to be subscribed there, because especially with the YouTube stuff and the Jigs and Bigs YouTube channel, there is stuff that is popping up over there that is even dives further than what the podcast goes into. Plus, you get a little bit of behind the scenes and all kinds of great stuff, and the fishing adventures. Don't forget that. That's going to do it for us. We would love to see you in 7 days for more Jigs and Bigs goodness. We got lots of great guests coming up. I've got all kinds of content that I can't wait to share with y'all, and I am already looking forward to an amazing 2025. I hope you are too. So we will see you guys in 7 days. Have yourselves a good one, and like we always say,
it's an ass smoke some grass.